Chapter 2. Penny Has a Visitor. It was some distance from the log cabin to the lake. There was a small patch of woods, as well as a wind-swept beach approach, before the water and the boathouse were reached. The shore, largely wooded here, curved around into a sort of bay. A long breakwater protecting it was built out from a projecting cape. The result was a small, snug harbor. The boys, after investigating the condition of the boat and its supply of gasoline, brought it out and moored it to the dock. "Gee, Phil," Jimmy said, "it's too bad that the summer is over. We really could have had some swell excursions in this. Don't forget, we can do all those things and more next year. Come on, kids, jump in and we'll take a little ride." Forgetting their hunger of a few moments before, they all got in. Jimmy pushed the boat off from shore and nimbly leaped over the back into the boat. "Wonderful," sighed Marjorie, leaning back against the seat. "What kind of boat is this, Jimmy?" "It's a real motorboat, not a patched-up rowboat with a motor, honey." "Can you go fishing in it? It looks so clean." "I have an idea that the old rowboat was used more for fishing, Marge. Plenty of fish right around here, I think." After cruising around the lake a while and admiring the beautiful wooded shoreline and the calm, deep blue of the water, Penny suddenly said, "Oh gosh, kids! Here we've just gone off and left everything unlocked and open and the fire burning in the fireplace. I'm certainly the limit as a... Boys, take me back quick, will you? Somebody's got to be home and look after things." Jimmy looked back to make a face at Penny, and Philip pretended to tear his hair, but he told Jimmy to turn the boat around at the same time. Soon they were back at the dock. "Hold her here, Jimmy," said Philip, "while I run up to the house with the girls. If everything's okay, I'll come back and we can cruise around for a little longer. Make it snappy if you expect to find me here when you come back. Beat it, everybody!" But Jimmy was grinning. This family could have a good time all by itself. Penny was breathless when they reached the house, which had neither run away nor burned down in their absence. It looked much the same, only rather big and lonesome, she thought, after Philip went back to the lake and she was left with Marjorie. Marjorie, however, kept up a running stream of chatter, for she sensed her sister's feelings about the large house. They both went about closing some of the windows. They locked the front door, put a screen in front of the fireplace to keep any flying sparks within bounds, and ran out to the kitchen to see what they could fix for supper. They examined the pantry and had another pleasant surprise when they found it fairly well supplied with canned foods and jellies. "We'll have a nice slice of ham and cook a few potatoes and maybe have some applesauce from the rest of the apples we brought," decided Penny. But she had no sooner said this and started on her way to the trailer to bring in the needed supplies when there was a knock at the screen door. Marjorie opened it and looked up into the sober face of a tall, well-built man who stood there with his arms full of bundles. He had a friendly smile on his weather-beaten face, and his eyes lighted with a glint of amusement as he caught sight of Marjorie's puzzled expression. Then, seeing Penny, he introduced himself at once. "I'm Patrick Ryan. I've taken care of this house and grounds and fished with your uncle these many years. I take it you're his niece. I got here as quickly as I could after I heard you'd arrived. I'm sorry I was off on a fishing trip today, but I brought you the best fish I caught for your supper. Don't tell me you've already had it." "Not a bit of it. The boys are out trying the boat they found, and Marjorie and I were just starting things. Thank you ever so much, Mr. Ryan. Come in, won't you? Oh, I forgot. I'm Penny, and this is my sister Marjorie." Patrick Ryan took a step or two inside and laid his armful on the long table near the door. "There's a fresh loaf of bread that Aunt Mary sent you, and a bit of butter with some fresh eggs for your breakfast. There's a pail of milk on the porch, too." As soon as he was back with the milk, she said, "I can't tell you how much we appreciate this. We brought some supplies along, and we found some here, but this is wonderful. Please thank Anne Mary for me. Is she your wife? No, we aren't married. Yet. She's a neighbor. I live with my sister, Teresa Callahan, where your brother got the keys this afternoon. The eggs are from Teresa's chickens, and Anne Mary churned the butter. We like to start off being neighborly. We thought highly of your uncle, you know. Oh, yes, and we have so many things to ask you. Philip, that's my older brother, has so much to talk to you about and to settle up. That's all right. I can't stay tonight, but I'll be over bright and early in the morning, if you are up. Teresa only cleaned up here a little bit, not knowing just when you would show up. Would you like to have her come over too? Just as is convenient for her, Mr. Ryan. We shall be glad to see her any time, but there probably won't be anything to do yet. I noticed that 2 of the bedrooms are cleaned, and the living room, and everything necessary. Why, you can't imagine how surprised we are, Mr. Ryan. We didn't know that Uncle John had anything as wonderful as this place. We've wondered and wondered why he didn't tell us. He looked straight at Penny with his keen blue eyes, nodding slowly. You would. I thought it likely. But he thought about you just the same. Yes, I can tell you some things about your uncle. Others I can't. I don't know myself. I've missed him this summer, and he was only up here for a very short time last summer. Mr. Allen and I often stayed in the little cabin that you'll find at the other end of the winding walk, past the garage. With this, Patrick Ryan, dignified and at home here, walked out of the kitchen door with a pull, intended as a salute, at a most disreputable hat. Oh, isn't he swell, Penny? Asked Marjorie. He looks so kind of safe. I got the same sort of impression, Marjorie. My, look at this fish! Even with our appetites, I don't know that we can eat it all tonight. It's all cleaned. I'll get it on in a jiffy. And imagine another cabin, Penny. Let's not tell the boys till morning. You know Jimmy will be all over the place after supper, Marge. Maybe not, was the hopeful answer. The big fish brought by Patrick Ryan was almost ready to serve, its white meat showing through breaks in the delectable brown of its baking, when the 2 boys came in, apologetic for their long absence. It was quite dark by this time. Not only had the fish had plenty of time for baking, but the girls had decked the dining room table with whatever pretty things they could find in the linen drawers. Don't blow us up too high, Penny, for staying so long. It was too good out there, and the little boat runs like greased lightning. We got out too far before we knew it. The moon's just coming up. Don't you girls want to ride by moonlight? Say, what smells so good? Asked Jimmy. Penny pretended to look severe and asked if anyone expected any supper at this late hour. Marjorie tossed her head and tried to look offended at Philip, but they both spoiled the effect by laughing. Certainly we want to ride, said Penny. And don't worry, you'd have had to wait if you had been here earlier. Patrick Ryan was here and brought us this grand fish. Penny threw open the oven door as she spoke, and Jimmy, looking, exclaimed, "Oh, boy!" as usual, while Penny went on to enumerate the gifts brought in neighborly fashion. "And you can't imagine what fun we've had, Phil," cried Marjorie, "finding things. Go in and look at our table, Jimmy. The linen needs ironing, but it's really clean. And look at all the silver I'm rubbing up." Philip, washing his hands at the sink, now reached for a handful of silver spoons and offered to wash up the whole supply. Jimmy gave a whoop of approval. They made light work of eating up the good dinner. "What does Pat look like?" asked Jimmy, after the pangs of hunger were partly appeased. "Oh, are you going to call him Pat?" inquired Marjorie. "Why not? Uncle always did." "But Uncle was his friend. I shall call him Mr. Ryan." "Proper child," smiled Penny. But I imagine the boys will get to the pat stage pretty soon, Marjorie. And he will probably call us by our first names, too. Why, Jimmy, he's tall and very strong-looking and has nice blue eyes. He has a way of looking straight at you when he talks, and his expression is kind and very keen. He's rather red-looking from windburn and sunburn, and his arms are brown, and his hands look as if he did hard work. He has a long scar across one of them, Marjorie inserted. Yes, his sleeves were rolled up, and the collar of his shirt turned in the way you boys wear yours when it's hot. His trousers were some sort of strong-looking brown stuff. I think he had just come in from his fishing trip when he heard about us, gathered up the stuff, and came up here. You girls certainly are observant. I have an almost perfect picture of him, said Philip. Don't forget that Anne Mary is the name of his sweetheart, Penny, said Marjorie. When he mentioned Anne Mary, we asked him if it was his wife, and he said they weren't married yet, or something like that. He lives with his sister Teresa, or she lives with him. He didn't say whether she was married or not. And he is coming over tomorrow early to see you boys, and all of us, I suppose, and tell us things. I looked out front when he went, and he has a very old rattletrap of a Ford to drive. The boys cleared the table, while Penny and Marjorie put away the food and washed the dishes. It was after 9 o'clock when they locked up the house and with their flashlights followed the path to the dock. End of chapter 2.